Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Friday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day, the first hour. Well, Dennis, we finally got some decent activity here in the overnight markets. S&P is trading down 11 points.
Yeah, this is the biggest move we've seen in quite some time here. Joel comments over there from Greece. You knew it'd be European comments driving us. But the one guy says he doesn't think that he could agree with the proposal over there. So there's concerns it may not go through again. So I know we're on a roller coaster ride over there. It seems like 100 times. It's we got a deal. Oh, the deal's not going to go through, and just keeps going back and forth. So it's probably almost predictable that somebody was going to not like the deal. But either way, market's selling off today, Joel.
Okay, we made the high right at the Globex Open last night, 1348 and a quarter. That looks like that will be the high of the day. Downside target was almost reached in the morning session, or 33.75. Resistance now stands at yesterday's low at 40.75. I think the big number on the downside today will be 1330 and a quarter. If we can get down another 8 points, that was Monday's low. Moving on to the Big Ten, Dennis. Not every stock rallied like Apple yesterday. ExxonMobil being one of those stocks. An area to look at for a shorting opportunity if this stock gets back up to the Wednesday, Thursday low area at 84.67 to 73. You'll find resistance in that stock. Coming back on the downside, mild support at 84.05, but our better number comes in at 83.53.
Yeah, looking at resistance, you got to look at these things. We haven't had a down day for quite some time, so maybe some of you traders, as we haven't been trading on the downside. If any of the stocks get close back up to settlement on a day we're down 10, sometimes you'll see value investors come in, especially after we've had such a move up. If those guys do come into the stocks and start to buy them off the open, if we get anywhere close to settlement, you'll have other people trying to wiggle out. So use that strength. If we do get some strength, every half an hour to an hour after the open, to dump some of these positions that you might have long, or to possibly initiate some shorts. And a stock like ExxonMobil, 85 was a huge number for quite some time. Settlements at 84.88. If it was to get anywhere near that settlement at 84.88, I think you'd find some pretty decent resistance.
Okay, moving on to the world's strongest stock, Apple Computer. Monster run yesterday. Must have been some margin calls on the short side or whatever, calling people in. The stock got up to 496.75. That was the all-time high. That will be major resistance. The all-time high close 493.17. I'm sure some people would love to get out at the mark on that. So let's call 493 resistance. Coming back on the downside, folks. I got support here at 490.16. I'm going to use that 490 as a big swing number today. As long as Apple can hold 490, I think it has a chance to go test the all-time high. Below 490, Katie bar the door. I think we could be in for at least a seven point drop.
Stock's been straight up 120 points basically if you go back 2 months ago. Eventually there's going to be a heck of a fall and a heck of a shakeout. But we've been saying this $500 seems to be a magnet. It was almost a capitulatory type of move on the upside yesterday, as we were up over 19 points at one time. Really ridiculous, but everybody wants in this stock, and you're seeing analysts come on, give a price target to 600. I think the stock is eventually going to take out 500. I think you're going to be all the shorts are going to throw in the towel. Everybody's going to be like, it is going to 600. We just got to buy for the next 100 points. And I think you're going to see this thing top out in the 505 to 510 area, and then eventually start to break down and get it and nail everybody on the that got long it up there. But nothing goes up forever. This looks like a rocket ship. Eventually the stock will pull back, but who knows really where the top is. I'm trying to call it here, saying I think it's going to be above 500 is where I think the top's going to be.
Okay, moving on to IBM. This stock had 4 closes, Dennis, right in the 193 area. We're trading a stick away from that now, so I imagine this thing gets back anywhere near 193. You should expect a real good resistance in that area, as you had 4 closes right there. Coming back on the downside, this 192 area has really been holding up. It's good support. The lowest we've been this week is 191.73. Could get a little bounce off it there, but below this 191.73, things open up.
You can roll the tape from yesterday on this one too. The stock gets into the 194 as we've been saying it. It finds sellers 1, 2, 3, 4 times recently. Back in December, it got up there 3 or 4 times again. It finds sellers and pulls back from the 194. So somebody is dumping in the 194s until the stock can get above 195. It's a sell in the 194s.
Okay. Corporation still been consolidating here for the last few days. Tried to bump up against Wednesday's high of 107.50, only got to 107.41. Does not look like that's going to come into play today. What we're going to be looking at, if we can get a pop up to the yesterday's low, actually Wednesdays and Thursdays lows are right in the 106.07 area. Look for a pop up to 106 to initiate some shorts or perhaps cover some longs that you are carrying. Coming back on the downside, Dennis, Monday's low stands at 104.37, so we're in earshot of that, trading at 105.30.
You called this one well yesterday, Joel, saying the resistance was up there at 107 in the 40 area. I think you said 107.41 was the high, so you almost got that one on the button. Pulling back with a broad market here, not a lot of stock trade, but it is trading down a buck through the key 106 support area. So I would say if the 106 doesn't hold, if we do indeed open up below here, I would use that 106 now as some resistance. And coming back to settlement at 106.37, which should give you some resistance as well.
Okay, moving on to our next component, Microsoft making another high of the move yesterday at 30.80, closing just three cents below that at 30.77. Using 30.50 here, trading 7 cents away from that number. That was also a high earlier in the week. Below this 30.50, though, Dennis, some things open up, perhaps to Wednesday's low at 30.22. Coming back on the upside, if we get near settlement here, which was near yesterday's high, 30.77, you'll be met with a host of sellers.
Stock continues its march higher, following Apple. It's not as strong as Apple, but it does seem to still follow to a certain extent. Stock closing near its high yesterday at 30.77, is pulling back with the broad market here this morning. I still think use Apple as your indicator when you see that breakdown day in Apple, and I think it's coming. I don't know when it's going to be, and I don't know at what price, but eventually there's going to be a day where Apple falls 15 or 20 points and everybody gets shaken out of their longs, but I don't know when that's coming, but keep an eye on it for that day because Microsoft tends to follow Apple.
Okay, General Electric made a new high of the move yesterday at 19.35. Just could not sustain it though, Dennis. Closing 2 cents off the low of the day, 19.13 close, 19.11 low. If you get a pop back up to that area, it'd certainly be worth looking into shorts. Coming back on the downside, you had 3 consecutive lows from 1891 to 1895, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. Trading near that level right now. I expect support to come in here. If we do break down below 1890, though, this thing could be in for a little bit of a ride.
Got a little bit above where we were talking the 1930 or 1935. It's just like we were saying, it's a thick and it's a tough march for the stock to get up there, and then it ended up turning around and giving most of it back. I'd say this 19 area is your initial support. It looks like it's gonna, it's trading right there right now at 1901. Starts to take that out, then we start talking about that bottom of the range we were talking about before, which is the 1860 area.
Looking at, making long-term calls on this thing, I just don't think this thing's ever going to go back to $40, Dennis. I mean, it's just so thick, and if this kind of rally couldn't even get this thing to 20, I just think there's so much hang in this stock from institutions that owned it and individuals, investors that owned it, and and the HFT guys stepping in. I mean, I don't think it's going to 10, but I just can't see this thing ever going to 30.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Like we've had, obviously a sell-off, back in 2008 where I think it got down to $6, did it not? So if you were just analyzing from that perspective, if you look at it, this thing was $6 in 2008. It's tripled from that price. So can it double again to get back up in that 40 area? I don't know. That's you got to think. There are some people sitting on a lot of profits on this thing too. If you bought this thing in the last year, you're doing pretty good. Well, a year ago I was up at 21, but if you bought it back in 2008 or 2009, you're probably doing pretty good now. So it's hard to say. But the high frequency guys, Joel, they come in here and they'll rebate trade anything. So when the market's quiet, like it has been, you'll see them come into stocks like this, and they really go nowhere because they're just sitting there scalping for the penny and collecting rebates. And that's really what you're seeing happening in a lot of the Big Ten stocks when the market tightens up. But when you start to get these moves, then they start to back off from that strategy because there's more risk involved. So, when we're down 12 on a day like this, you can't really rebate a stock like trade like GE until it tightens up its range.
Okay. Moving on to Procter and Gamble, snuck its head above the 64.10 high. It was at 64.0 close. Just kind of drifted up. I didn't see a lot of volume associated with the move. We were identifying that $64 area. So if you do get a pop back up to 64, get your shorts or try and cover some longs in that area. Coming back on the downside, Dennis, double bottom here, 63.44 to 53. Call that area 63.50. Can't really look for a breakdown to under 63 until we take out that area.
I wonder if some of these stocks, Joel, some of these defensive names could start to come back into favor if we start getting into a risk-off situation. It looks like it's going to be a risk-off day here. Procter & Gamble was looking a little bit stronger there yesterday, finishing up 40 cents, closing above 64. It is pulling back with the broad market here in the pre-market, trading down the 40 cents at 63.64. But you'll wonder, Joel, if these defensive stocks open near the lows and then start to rally up as money comes out of your risk names and goes into names like Procter & Gamble, which are a little more defensive.
Okay, speaking of defensive stocks, AT&T just couldn't hold that $30 level for more than a couple days, topping out Tuesday and Wednesday at 30.15 and only making it to 30.06 yesterday. Trading down a dime here in the pre-market, which is probably going to be its range for the day. But coming back up near the 30 level, I'm sure things will start to thicken up and be good resistance. So use 30 as resistance. Coming back on the downside, I find support at 29.88 as yesterday's low. Looks like that will be tested early. Another low at 29.80, but better support comes in at 29.69. AT&T is just one of those stocks that'll just lull you to sleep, and then one day we'll have a 30 or 40 cent move, but who knows if it's going to be today.
I think you got the resistance right, Joe. I'm seeing size form in the $30 area as well. So call it $29.99 is your settlement. $30. I'm seeing size form there. Big psychological number. I think it seems to me like a no-brainer. There's going to be some resistance in this 30 area.
Okay, J&J, this stock is just tired, Dennis. It just couldn't hold the 66 level, and now we're giving way to the 65 level. Broke through that support yesterday at 65, 64.82 low with an 89 close, trading down 23 cents for that. If you get back anywhere to Thursday's low or the close of 64.82 to 89 area, I look for resistance. Coming on the downside, 64.34 has just been holding this stock up for a long time. If that's finally breached, Dennis, I think this thing will give
Joel,
down to.
You were losing your audio just a little bit there, Joel. But looking at this chart back to December, it looks very much like it does right now. If you look at a 3-month chart, back in December we talked about it. 66 was holding as resistance. We cut through it, made a high at 66.32. Then 66 became resistance again. Then we broke down to the 64.34 area. We are doing the exact same thing again here, late January. 66 is resistance, breakout. 66.32 right on the button, same high. 66 becomes resistance for a couple of days, and we start to break down. So if it's going to follow the same pattern, you're right. 64.34 looks like where it's going, Joel.
Deja vu all over again.
It really is. It's crazy.
Okay, moving on to our final component, Pfizer just topping out at 21.25 yesterday, meeting that resistance from earlier in the week. 21's Thursday's low. We're trading right there, so it is opening into support. The key number I'm looking at on the downside is Pfizer's this 2080. It's just been holding up. Perhaps a fourth crack at it, we'll take it out and we'll visit the 2050 level.
Yeah, this 21 area is a good number here too, Joel. I think that's, we had this breakout day, kind of break up yet day yesterday where it started to break out from below that 21 area. So I think if, it opens up in this 2090, 21 area, it wouldn't be surprise me if this stock opened near the low, more defensive name and started to actually move higher. But keep an eye on that 2080. It needs to hold that 2080 to keep this little rally intact.
Okay, SPU's just hanging out 1336 level, trying to get up to yesterday's low at 1340.75. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with our market movers.